Hi there and welcome to today's vlog. Just to let you know that yesterday Sue and I had a trip up to Scarborough, my favourite place. It was a lovely day. We spent time with my sister and husband and grandson. We had a great day, lovely weather. I haven't been to Scarborough for, well, getting on for 2 years it must be, and it was great to be back. Anyway, last vlog that I recorded, if you watched it, you'd remember that I talked about a man called Gary Speed, and particularly this book, which charts something of his life. Gary Speed was a well-known and widely loved and respected football player and later international football manager of Wales. But very sadly, in his 40s, he took his own life. And the book consists of people talking about him, some of his own reminiscences before he died, but also his late wife, his widow, and some of the players and other footballers he played with or knew. One of those is a chap called John Hartson. John Hartson was also a well-known footballer. He was also a Welsh international. John Hartson, I'm going to come on to talk a bit more about him shortly, but to cut a long story short, he developed a life-threatening cancer. His life hung by the balance, on a thread. That's probably a better way of putting it. And he was seriously ill. But now, writing about Gary Speed later on, after John Hartson had recovered, he writes this: "It's strange to think that that's John Hartson, fought like hell to beat my cancer and feel lucky to still be here, whereas Gary, who appeared to have everything, ended his own life. It's hard to contemplate." And just shows that sometimes a person who appears to others to have everything you would ever want can still be consumed with an inner turmoil. And obviously we'll never know the full reason why Gary Speed took his life, but obviously he was going through a really tough time internally. Anyway, to get on to John Hartson's book, the book I read after that is the autobiography of John Hartson called Please Don't Go, which I think these were taken from words spoken by John Hartson's father as he sat with John Hartson in the hospital room after a major operation and not knowing whether John Hartson would ever recover. It's a heartwarming story in many ways, but a couple of things I want to pick out which I particularly noticed. And one is that one of John Hartson's sister, Hayley, went onto a Facebook fan page that had been set up for John Hartson, and she wrote this: "I'm John's sister and would like to thank you for all your support during this devastating time for John and the family. He is very, very ill." And then she put, "I'm not religious, but I ask every one of you to pray for John to fight this. Thank you." Loads of people have said over the years to me, I'm not religious, and I usually say, well, I'm not religious either, because religion has that thought with it that it's about rules and regulations. Well, of course, the Christian faith is not about primarily rules and regulations. It's about a relationship with Jesus. And when we commit our lives to him, when we fall in love with Jesus, then we desire to please him and be obedient to what he says. But it's not primarily rules and regulations. But I find it fascinating that Hayley, sister of John Hartson, who wouldn't call herself religious, yet she's urging people to pray for her brother. And there's another a little passage that I want to read to you from the book. This is another of John's sisters, I think, commenting on the situation when John was very, very ill. "Everyone I spoke to was saying prayers for John and texting me to say they mentioned John in their church today. It was so nice to know so many people were thinking of him." And just a reminder of that power of prayer, the blessing of prayer. When we had When I was minister here in Doncaster, our town centre church priory, we used to have something called Healing on the Streets every month, and we used to put a few chairs outside the front of the building, there's a little courtyard there, and invite people who needed prayer to come and sit on a chair, and people would pray with them. Sometimes there were obvious effects, answers to prayer. Sometimes not so obvious, but every time that person felt some touch of God on their lives. And I've heard countless people over the years to say to me, I was so blessed by the prayers of people. Prayer makes a difference. So I'd encourage you, if you've got somebody in need, offer prayer to them. Or if you're in need yourself, ask for prayer. Prayer makes a difference. And while we're on the subject of John Hartson, just to finish with, he discovered a lump on one of his testicles. But because he was a typical man, you might say, it was several years before he eventually went to the doctor. By that time, the cancer that was started off in his testicles had spread to his lungs and to his brain. So it was mega serious, and he could easily have died. So the moral of the story, particularly to us men, is if there's some issue there, go and get it sorted out. Go and seek medical advice. But remember, the power of prayer. God works in mysterious ways. God bless you. Thank you so much for listening today.